You open a blank page with a good idea in your head. But before you write the first line, you imagine how people will react to it. You picture someone ignoring it, someone judging it, someone misunderstanding it. Suddenly, the idea does not feel exciting anymore. It feels risky. So you change it. You make it safer. You remove the part that feels too personal. You turn the idea into something easier to approve of. And without noticing it, you stop creating from your own mind. You start creating for an invisible audience watching you before anything even exists. That is where creativity starts to shrink. Not because you have no talent, not because you are lazy, but because your attention has moved outside yourself too early. Real creativity needs privacy. It needs a place where an idea can be weak, strange, unfinished, and still allowed to exist. But when you crave attention, that private space disappears. You do not just ask, "What do I want to say?" You ask, "Will people like this? Will this make me look smart? Will this get a reaction?" And once that question becomes louder than the idea itself, the work changes. It becomes less honest, less risky, less original. Because now you are not exploring. You are performing. This is why people who crave attention often start repeating themselves. They find one thing that gets praised, and they keep going back to it. The same style, the same tone, the same kind of idea, the same safe version of themselves. From the outside, it looks like consistency. But inside, it can feel like a creative prison. Because the goal is no longer discovery. The goal is not losing approval. And that fear quietly controls the work. You avoid ideas that feel too slow, too subtle, too personal, too difficult to explain quickly. But those are often the ideas with the most depth. The best ideas do not always arrive fully formed. Sometimes they start as a small feeling, a strange connection, a thought you cannot explain yet. They need time. They need silence. They need space. But attention craving has no patience for that. It wants proof immediately. It wants a signal, a like, a comment, a visible reaction that says, "This matters." So instead of following the idea deeper, you make it easier to notice. You package it too early. You polish it before you understand it. You turn it into content before it becomes real. And slowly, your mind learns a dangerous habit. It stops trusting your own interest. It only trusts what gets attention. This is how creativity becomes dependent. You no longer create because something feels true. You create because something might perform well. And the more you do that, the weaker your inner signal becomes. You start looking at your own thoughts through other people's eyes, even when nobody is there. You judge the idea before you build it. You reject it before you test it. You silence it before it has a chance to become something better. That is the hidden cost of craving attention. It does not only change what you make. It changes how you think. A normal moment becomes something to post. A feeling becomes a caption. A conversation becomes an angle. A private thought becomes material. And when every experience is turned into performance, you stop fully experiencing it. You are present, but part of your mind is already asking how it will look from the outside. That makes creativity thinner. Because real creativity comes from contact with life. Not just reaction. Not just trends. Not just what people already reward. It comes from noticing things carefully. Staying with discomfort. Letting thoughts remain unfinished. Allowing yourself to make something that may not be understood immediately. This does not mean attention is bad. Wanting your work to reach people is normal. Wanting feedback is normal. Wanting to be seen is human. The problem begins when attention becomes permission. When you cannot create until you imagine approval. When you cannot trust an idea unless you believe people will reward it. When your first question is not, is this real? But, will this make people look at me? That is when creativity starts dying, quietly. Not all at once, but every time you choose the safer idea. Every time you remove the honest part. Every time you repeat what worked before, because you are afraid to disappear. To become creative again, you have to protect the early stage of your ideas. Do not expose everything too quickly. Do not turn every thought into something public. Do not judge every idea by whether it can get attention. Let some thoughts stay private. Let some drafts be bad. Let some ideas grow without needing applause. Because creativity returns when you stop treating every idea like a performance. It returns when you give your mind permission to explore before it has to impress. And the moment you stop creating only to be seen, you start seeing again.